Welcome back into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast. Josh and Jell here live on a Monday. It is August, first recording in August. Those of you checking us out on YouTube Live can see that I have a new background and I was moving the past week. So that is the reason for the delay in getting you more episodes out. But hopefully no more interruptions here out. And fun week. Let's just put it that way.
Congrats on the home, dog.
Thanks.
It's intense.
Appreciate it. Yes. Yes, it is.
It's badass, man. It's badass.
Yes. Speaking of badass, Jill, question of the day today. Who is winning the badass AFC West?
I've want to go Denver. I want to go LA, but I feel like I keep defaulting back to the Chiefs. I mean, Mahomes, Andy Reid, best quarterback coach combo in the league. Yeah, they lost Tyreek Hill, but Pat Mahomes actually has some really good stats without Hill. I believe he's 3-1. I don't have the full numbers in front of me, but I think without Hill, the Chiefs are 3-1. That's enough to get 12-13 wins. And if maintaining that pace, and I think that you just have to keep them as the front runner. You've also got one more year of Edwards-Helaire. Hopefully he can finally take that next step that we've been waiting for him to take.
Yeah.
But especially anybody that's a fantasy owner, but maybe year 3 in the system, he finally gets it. But I'm just an Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes believer. And Travis Kelce, he just got a new deal up a little bit more front loaded. So he's getting paid a little extra cash this year. Maybe he'll be a little bit more motivated. Their safety, Justin Reed, just kicked a 65-yard field goal in practice the other day. So maybe they've now got a butt kicker as Harrison Butker as their everyday kicker. And then and Justin Reed's maybe going to be their long distance dude. But no, I don't know. It's hard to go against Mahomes, Andy Reid. Broncos first-year head coach as well. Raiders first-year head coach. Chargers unproven head coach going into his second year. So I dig the stability of the Chiefs. I got to go KC.
No, I don't think you could really go wrong with any of the 4 teams. I think you can make your case for any of the teams, which this is probably the only division that you can do that for, which will be a blast.
1,000%. Yeah.
Going to come down to the final week of the season probably to decide who's winning that division. But I'm gonna lean the Chargers. I really like the offseason that they had, bringing Khalil Mack to go along with Bosa. Defense is solid, going to be a top 10 unit. And I think the offense is going to take another step forward now too. So got Austin Eckler back there, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams is very underrated. I'll talk about him quite a bit in our AFC West fantasy preview a little bit later on in this episode. But I just like the Chargers. Got a little taste last year of a playoff-like atmosphere, losing that game to Las Vegas in the final week of the season. So I think that they're going to end up coming through and getting into the playoffs and winning that division this year.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, though. You can't really go wrong picking any of the 4. No. I mean, the Raiders made the playoffs last year, and that was with a special teams coordinator running the ship at head coach. So you'd assume Josh McDaniels is a step up. And in terms of, their head coaching position, Derek Carr gets a true number 1 in Devontae Adams, top 3-ish, top 3, top 5 receiver in the league, if not number 1. In Devontae, Darren Waller, assuming he stays healthy, that's a nice 1-2 punch as your top 2 receiving threats. And of course, Hunter Renfrow, who just signed an extension. Raiders are nasty. And then the Broncos, of course, adding Russell Wilson. Don't forget that the last 2 Super Bowls have been won by Tom Brady in his first year in Tampa, Stafford his first year with the Rams.
Yeah.
Both those teams had solid rosters and were just missing an elite quarterback. Broncos have that solid roster, and they're upgrading from Teddy Two Gloves to Russell Wilson, a future Hall of Famer. So I think assuming everything clicks for the Broncos, you can make a super easy argument there. They did lose Tim Patrick, however, since our last recording to an ACL, out for the season, which stinks. KJ Hamler is going to be the one to step up and take over that role, which that's still a really solid replacement. KJ Hamler is no slouch. He's not your average fourth receiver. So, that combo of that trio of Sutton, Judy, KJ Hamler, still really solid. And they have, there's a big lot of belief in their tight end. I think it's Iguanamowu. I'm going to I'm trying. Iguanamowu is my best guess at it. So, but so a solid receiving core. We've already seen what their defense can be. Patrick Surtain Jr., by the end of this year, he may be looked at as the best receiver, best corner in football. I mean, he's already top 3, top 5 in my eyes, the way he played his rookie year. And he's obviously got the genes of his daddy, Patrick Surtain Sr. So gotta love that. Added Randy Gregory as well to that pass rush. So the Broncos, this is why this is the nastiest division of them all. And we all know, as you touched on, we all know the talent that the Chargers have. It's just a matter of, can they get over their Chargers curse, which has been in effect since Marty Schottenheimer's 14-2 season and lost in their first playoff game. So that's real. That curse is real. But if they can get over that hump, which Justin Herbert would be the guy to do it, they'll be right there in the mix as well. So it's going to be crazy. You might see it. You might see the Raiders go 9-8 and miss the playoffs but still be kind of looked at as a top 5 team in the AFC with how loaded that division is.
No, it'll be exciting and looking forward to it. We are 30 days out from 31. August has 31 months. Math's hard, but 31 days out from opening night of the NFL season. So very exciting times. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Again, we are live on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, click the bell there. You'll know when our live episodes drop. We're monitoring the chats. That way, if you have any questions at all, you can go ahead and ask us those. We'll keep an eye out for those and answer them on our podcast. If you want to follow Gel, he can be found at DasGel. That's at DasJel. I can be found at DasJPEC. That's at DasJPEC. Send us in any questions, comments, concerns you have there, and we'll hit you back. It's draft season, so if you're in the middle of your draft, not sure who you want to grab, send us a DM, send us a tweet, do whatever you would like to, and we'll try and get back to you as quick as possible to help you out. Love draft questions, fantasy questions, but you can ask us anything you want. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot, get you some sticker swag sent out in the mail for free. Gel, sipping on anything fun today? Are you still hungover from our last recording?
I've gotten over that piece, thankfully. Dealing with a little bit of nasal congestion, so I apologize for that. But overall feeling all right. Got my old for you YouTube viewers. Got the old bachelor. There it is. The old bachelor or groomsman gift from Mr. JPEC over there. So rocking inside this beautiful Yeti koozie is a beautiful Busch Light.
Nice. Very nice. I was going to go with a Busch Light, but I was in the store yesterday doing some grocery shopping. And
little recon.
Yeah, something caught my eye that I usually don't dabble into this time of year, but it's been hot in Wisconsin and football season is coming upon us. And there's nothing better than a good old Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
I'm having a lakefront Oktoberfest in the beginning of August.
Good. You're getting into the mood already for it. I usually wouldn't start hitting those up till September, but hey man, Oktoberfest though, It's maybe my favorite style of beer outside
I think,
of.
yeah, we talked about that last year on our podcast that arguably, I don't know what other style would be my favorite, but I just love
It's
Oktoberfest.
so good.
You can drink them all day. They're usually not too heavy, but they have a lot more flavor, and yeah,
It's like, yeah,
awesome.
it's got the, like you said, you can you could do some day drinking if you want with an Oktoberfest. Might feel like you got a little gut rot in the morning from the craft beer, all that craft beer, but like you said, it's not usually super heavy and super delicious, obviously. But yeah, it's a totally a football drinking beer.
Oh yeah.
So
I saw it in the store,
pretty
and I was
jealous.
just like, I got to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I went, so yesterday I went to the grocery store and I went to a gas station and I couldn't find any high noons. I didn't make specific stops just for that, but I couldn't find any high noons. And I'm like, you know what? I've never seen high noon anywhere. Like, why?
Really?
So I went onto their site and they only sell it to liquor stores.
Yeah, because they're with actual vodka. That's fine.
Right. So
Gotcha.
so I'm like, well, shit, I guess I gotta, because I've just been drinking beer all summer. I haven't really dabbled in any liquor. So I'm gonna have to go to a liquor store and grab some nooners.
Nice. I did not realize, is Texas one of those that the liquor has to be sold separate from beer?
Oh. And all liquor stores are closed on Sundays. Because like the grocery stores in Wisconsin can sell everything. They can sell everything any day of the week. In Texas, it's beer and wine can be sold 7 days a week, and then on Sundays afternoon. But all liquor stores are closed at noon or on Sundays, and you can't, like groceries, like you can't sell. You have to have a special license to be able to sell hard liquor. So like most grocery stores, actually no grocery stores, no gas stations I've seen can sell liquor. So
okay. Yikes. Not convenient, especially when you said the beer you can't get on Sundays until afternoon. Not ideal for a noon.
Dude,
kickoff.
I literally have to buy it like the night or like the day before to be able to drink on Sundays.
How many times have you finished your stash prior to that?
It's happened too often. So frustrating. Well, it ends up forcing you to have to go to a bar so that you could, if you want to start drinking at 11 for a little pregame, you got to go somewhere to do it.
Just make sure you have some chips on the table.
The chips and salsa.
Yes. All right, so let's kick this off. Let's get the golf coverage out of the way here so we can focus on a lot of football news that happened while we were not recording. But going to kick it off with the Wyndham Championship. Ju Young Kim, or AKA Tom, as he goes by as well.
Big time Timmy Tom.
Monster final round, shoots a 9 under to finish at 20 under. Jumps your pick, Sunjae Im. Finished T2 at minus 15. Still had a decent final round. What is 3 under?
I'm not saying Im is a piece of shit. I'm saying I'm pissed at Kim for that. I was going for trying to get our first win in our Drew Locks.
Yeah,
looked like I was in good shape until Kim goes out and birdies half of his holes. Imagine being able to do that. Average a birdie every other hole. That's insane.
Hard to do in a scramble.
Yeah. I think we finished in our outing this summer. I think my group, shout out Brian Wentz, ended up finishing second with a 9 under. Okay. And we were killing it. I think the winner finished at 11. And this is among, how many groups were there? Had to have been, 18 groups or something?
Yeah. We
something
had
like
64 golfers, I think, this year.
So maybe, a few 17 groups then, I guess. doing a little mental math on the fly there. Might be wrong.
Yeah.
I ain't no math magician here. But no, I mean, Tom Kim finishes 20 under. That's how many years old he is. He's 20. That's crazy. 20 years old to be winning a PGA Tour event. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Tiger, obviously, but still really young to be doing that.
Yes.
I mean, and he's been on the tour now for what, probably just over a year now. I feel like I've seen his name up there on the TV screen at least.
Yeah.
For at least it's got to be, I mean, obviously all of this season and part of last. So 20-year-old went finishing with a W at 20 under. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, like you mentioned, Sung J M finishing tied for second at 15 under, and then anything to say about your boy Siwoo Kim?
Siwoo Kim with the WD, so not great. Did make the cut, so at least I had somebody make the cut. But yeah,
it's one way to look at it.
And yeah, so not
finished
not
at
great.
So that records me an extra 14 strokes.
Nice,
giving Das Gel a 62 stroke lead in our Drew Locks on the season.
Yes, with 3 weeks to go, so
I don't know if you're gonna be able to make it up, Bubba.
Yeah, gonna be tough. I need average 20 strokes a week.
But you better buy a couple better buy a couple 30s of some Bush. You're gonna have some work to do on these chugs.
Yeah. One note that I wanted to bring up from the weekend, FedEx playoffs start this week. We'll have that on our Thursday release, give you our picks for the first event of FedEx St. Jude. Top 125 golfers in the FedEx standings make it. And coming in at number 125, Mr. Ricky Fowler. I haven't gotten to talk about him much, but missed the cut for the Wyndham Championship. Had to sweat it out over the weekend, but does get into the playoff field. So
finishes at 125. These stat or the events that they count go back all the way. It's a full calendar year of events, so these go back all the way to September. He finished tied for third for an event in October, and that is what's carrying him to be able so that he can qualify for the FedEx Cup.
Just crazy.
Like, so undeserving. Missed the cut his last two events. He hasn't been, I think he's got one or two top 40 finishes all season outside, or at least this calendar 2022. Brutal. But hey, I mean, his chance to make a little cash at least.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens later on this week. But
I wonder what if Puma's like, shit, we shouldn't have gotten into business with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was rolling for a long time, and then I don't know what's happened, but his game has just gone downhill so much. It's frustrating. I'm sure he's very frustrated as well. Obviously wants to play to his top abilities and has not done that. No, you wanted to bring up the PGA Tour schedule, and they're going to be tweaking it a little bit next year. Going to be doing the calendar to calendar instead of the October to August that they're currently doing right now. So help out a little bit, but yeah, any other tweaks you want to see or changes, or what are some of your thoughts there, Joe?
I would love for them to have the final major be the week before the FedEx Cup, before the playoffs, just because since St. Andrews, since the Open Championship, it's been a few weeks now of basically irrelevant golf. I mean, none of the big time players have been playing in it. And the lead up to this FedEx Cup, the FedEx playoffs is, I mean, golf lost all momentum that it had. If you are able to ride that Cam Smith, Cam Young, Rory McIlroy final round into the FedEx Cup playoffs, then I mean, you'd have all the momentum in the world riding into the playoffs, like which is when a ton of cash is made. You'll still have all the top golfers really still rolling. I don't even want like a tune-up round in between. I want the final major. And it doesn't matter if it's the Open Championship, if it's the PGA Championship, even do something like the what's the event considered like the fifth major?
All the players.
Yeah, even put the players there. And I know traditionally the players is early in the season, but you could even throw the players there if you want a quote unquote tune-up round between the final major and the playoffs. But they lost all this momentum, and now football season is kind of getting going. Like their focus is, and baseball now matters a lot more now that, you're past the trade deadline. Really, this is when the MLB really starts to tune up. Speaking of that too, I'll save the baseball piece for the next episode, but no, I think they lost all that momentum having multiple weeks where none of your real true top guys, your real stars are playing going into the playoffs. It's like now we have to get back into golf mode for this final stretch rather than just being like pumped knowing I'm going to have 4 or 5 straight weeks of epic golf to finish off the season.
Yeah, I like that they moved it up because the playoffs used to compete and they were in September and competed with football, and it just did not work. So the PGA did do well moving that into August where you're competing with preseason, which, yeah, I mean, the diehards are going to watch preseason, but most people won't sit down and watch the entire game of that. They'll tune into some golf, but I agree with what you're saying with it because just look at the Wyndham Championship. I don't have the list up in front of me, but there was, I think, like 6 to 7 golfers that withdrew like mid-round, and
including your pick.
Siwoo Kim did. Defending champion Kevin Kisner ended up withdrawing with 1 hole left on his Friday round, and I think a lot of these guys, if they weren't in contention for it, they're just like, what am I doing here right now? Let's just get ready for the playoffs and not worry about scraping together a round and getting out of there and focusing on the St. Jude Classic coming up. But you'd have to throw one of the United States major tournaments in there. I don't want the players going from being over in England, Scotland, Ireland to have to come back and start competing in the playoffs. I think that's a little much to ask on a week turnaround there, unless you threw in some other tournament in between.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You could move up the Open Championship or something, and that's what I'm saying.
The PGA used to be in August.
Throw the PGA, so put the PGA back in August, and then this first week of August, and then everybody's in the US already. Then you can just start with the playoff right from there, or have that tune-up round where you've got some legitimate event beforehand, not 2 or 3 straight, basically throwaway tournaments before the playoffs. I mean, we're in summer, man. People aren't, unless there's golf that matters, people aren't watching. We're diehards. And we barely have watched over the last, since personally, at least, I've barely watched since the Open Championship. I'll maybe have it on in the background and barely paying any attention.
Yeah. No,
it's like now there's just other shit to pay attention to.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get you and I get that, but with the golfers too, and how much they like to have the week off here and there as well. I mean, if you go from a major championship right into the playoffs, that's 4 straight weeks of golf if you make it all the way, which I don't know if you'll ever get the players to agree with going 4 tournaments in a row. That's extremely rare to see anybody do that. But
okay, that's fair. I mean, but that doesn't mean you have to have 3 weeks of irrelevant tournaments.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, for sure.
I mean, give them 1 week of, a break from a significant tournament or major, and then the playoffs. We don't need nearly a month of a layoff.
Yeah. You could throw the John Deere in there in between and call it a day.
Yikes.
Yes. All right, so let's transition over to the NFL. Had some big wide receiver news drop over the last week or so. A couple guys had been holding out, wanting new contracts, and sure enough, they got them. And we'll start off with the first of the three that got a new contract. That's DK Metcalf. Got a new 3-year, $72 million contract extension, $30 million signing bonus, and $58 million guaranteed. So, do you like this signing by Seattle? I mean, DK, obviously young, just absolute monster wide receiver, going from Russell Wilson to the Geno Smith-Drew Lock combo. So, for fantasy, we'll get into him a little bit on Thursday. But from just a team standpoint, what did you think of this contract?
Fun fact, DK does not actually stand for Donkey Kong. It's Decalin. But I mean, it felt like this was going to happen. He never was really like he wasn't as hardcore about threatening a hard trade demand like Debo was. So I think I kind of saw this coming with DK getting a contract. Not the Chargers. Geez, the Seahawks obviously have plenty of money to spend now that they don't have Russ on the books and that contract. So they had money to blow. Why would you try to play hardball right now with Metcalf? And it's not like he signed a Tyreek Hill deal where he's getting or a Devontae Adams where he's approaching 30 million a year. I mean, this is a reasonable contract.
Yeah.
Just over 20 a year. So I'm all for it. I think it was kind of a no-brainer for the Seahawks and for him to sign that deal, especially if you're going to be bringing in, we're all assuming that, I'm assuming Drew Lock wins MVP, but we're all assuming that the Hawks are going to be pretty bad this year and they're going to have a high pick. You don't want a rookie, let's say they get a top 3 quarterback, have a top 3 pick, grab a quarterback. You don't want a rookie quarterback that you want to be the stud and future of your franchise to go in with no receivers. So this felt like a deal that had to be done. It kind of felt inevitable. And, obviously I'm 100% for it. It's in line with his market value. I just think overall good deal for both sides.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think he got a fair contract here. And like you said, Seattle definitely helped them out. So you'd mentioned more than likely going to be having a new quarterback next year, or maybe Jimmy G comes in and then DK's stock starts to skyrocket there as well. So no brainer for me getting him under contract. He's been a pretty elite wide receiver. Outside last year, Russell Wilson was hurt for a good stretch. So obviously had Geno Smith there throwing him the rock for a bit, but no, I like that contract quite a bit. Next wide receiver up is Deebo Samuel. Deebo also was a holdout. We had rumor earlier on in the offseason that he actually was requesting a trade out, but both sides were able to negotiate a new contract, make him happy, get a pretty team-friendly deal here as well. Deebo's new contract, 3-year, $71.55 million, so just slightly less than DK's contract. $24 million signing bonus, $58 million guaranteed for Deebo as well. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he also has it built into his contract, depending on some of his rushing stats. If he gets a certain yardage, certain amount of rushing touchdowns, he'll have an increase as well. I think it's maybe $2 million per year of this contract, something around that. So a little bit of an incentive too, if the team wants to use him as a running back.
So you're underplaying that or overplaying that a little bit. $650K per year if he has 380 or more yards, $150K if he scores 3 rushing touchdowns per year. Each year can max out at that. But that doesn't make any sense. But that can only max out at 650,000 a year. So you can't combine the 650 and the 150 to make 8. So he got kind of screwed there.
Okay. Yeah,
and then
weird.
Over the life of his contract, he can max out at 1.95 mil.
Okay, that's where I was getting that from. But I mean,
so
it is a little bit
not
more
enough of an incentive to also play running back. I mean, yeah, they're only asking for 380 yards or 3 touchdowns. And maybe once he reaches those marks, he says, nah, no more here. He has to, but how valuable does that even like that's not enough for me to say, oh, I'm also a running back. 2 million, less than 2 million over the entirety of that contract. I mean, he must be like really, really, he better be like concrete. You're never going to run the ball with me once I earn my 650K. You are not handing me the ball one time in the backfield once I get past those marks, because that's not nearly worth him being a part-time running back. Where last year he was, especially towards the end of the year, he was like a 70-30 kind of a split between wide receiver, running back. I don't know. I think he got kind of screwed there. So I think like, hell yes for the Niners, but for this to be him being running back, it was such a sticking point, such an argument. A part-time running back was such an argument for why he thought he deserves more money. For it to be all of it could add up to 1.95 million maximum for his entire contract. That's not good enough for me, man. I don't know. All those hits,
yeah,
that shit adds up. I mean, if let's say this 1.5, these incentives, this 1.95 mil takes a year out of his takes a year out of his NFL career, then he's losing a ton of money. I think he didn't do well enough on that at all, unless he has said, don't even think about giving me the ball in the backfield once I hit this, my yearly threshold of 650 mil or 650K.
Yeah, either that or maybe during negotiations, they said that, hey, with the new quarterback transition, it's Trey Lance's offense now. We're going to be using him to have more designed run plays. He's a big bodied guy too that was trucking people in college. Maybe they told Debo they're going to cut back his
what was it, D2 competition?
Yeah, but still, I mean, he's a big
no,
boy too.
He is,
and he gets scooting. But maybe they told Debo that, hey, we're not going to be utilizing you as much as we did last time. And Debo's like, fine, then we'll roll with this. I'm still getting paid decent money here, and we'll made him obviously happy, team friendly deal. So that's kind of where I see it too. But yeah, it will be interesting to see if week 4, week 5, or week 8, Debo's maxed out everything that he can make for that year and what ends up happening. It'll be interesting to see.
I mean, that's reasonable. If they're going to use him the same way that they did the second half of last year, that's completely reasonable for that to affect him going, or for him to, like you said, week 8, week 9. Why would he not have the potential to have 3 rushing touchdowns by then? I mean, he was an awesome back last year.
Yeah. Yes,
so
he was. Somebody
you would know
on the dynasty team. Yes,
you would know. but so ultimately, good deal, I think, better deal for the Niners ultimately than Debo, I think. But obviously both sides wanted to get it done.
Yep.
And if you're Debo, you'd rather be a Niner than a Jet. So, look at it that way too.
Last wide receiver here, Deontay Johnson, new contract, 2-year extension, $36.7 million, $17.5 million signing bonus, and $27 million of that guaranteed. So Pittsburgh gets their top receiver, top PPR guy locked down for the next 3 seasons with this 2-year extension. So I thought it was pretty team friendly too. Gets him back out there when he's still young to get another contract, gets him money now, so he's not putting his body on the line on a contract year. And obviously with the new quarterback transition, Mitch Trubisky kissing titties or Kenny Pickett, regardless of who's out there, this is a huge target for them, a guy that you can check down to and is going to be there and make catches for you. So to me, this was also a no-brainer for Pittsburgh. Didn't tie a lot of money up here either. So I think all in all, it was good for both parties.
No doubt, 100% in favor on this for both sides. He's not on the same level as DK, as Debo, as AJ Brown, so I wouldn't expect the same type of a contract, but still getting paid, some, like you said, 27 million guaranteed. That's 27 mil that wasn't in the bank before. So you absolutely got to be happy about that for Deontay. And again, like you said, he can get out 2 years from now, and he's still a young dude. Also for the Steelers, no Big Ben, no big contracts on the offensive side of the ball, really at all. I think Trubisky might be their highest paid player at like $8 million a year on the offensive side. Yikes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, good deal. Good for him. The Steelers, I don't know if this was the case before this deal was completed, but I know at least they had the least amount of money tied to their offense out of any team in the league. So they obviously had money to spend. Their only two really, really big contracts are TJ Watt and who's due for did he end up getting an extension?
Yeah, he did get an extension.
Okay, that's what I thought. So TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick just got a new deal, but they don't really have a lot of money tied up elsewhere. So I think this was a no-brainer for Pittsburgh as well.
Yep. Yeah, no, they have the luxury of a lot of rookie contracts right now, which we'll see what happens once those rookie contracts run out.
I want to jump back or stay, I guess, in the division really quick regarding staying within the AFC Central. Jesus, let's take it back to the 90s. AFC North. Kareem Hunt just demanded a trade, or he had demanded a trade. He wanted a new extension, officially publicly demanded a trade on Saturday or on Friday, I think. Cleveland said no. Saturday, he's in team drills. How is there a weaker holdout of all time in the NFL than this one? A one-day public, trade demand? That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. I mean, the guy clearly doesn't get it. He's already had an incident with domestic violence. Now he's on. By the way, Cleveland, they signed Kareem Hunt after his domestic violence thing. Then they trade for Deshaun Watson after his issues with women. Like, God, what a horrible look for Cleveland on that front. But sticking with Kareem Hunt, I mean, is there, can you think of a worse, less effective holdout than less than 1 day of this being public?
Yeah, I mean, clearly he is about the money because he didn't want to lose any by holding out for even a day. So, no, I mean,
that's so weak.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have much power. He's not their starting running back. Nick Chubb's there. So you could say you want to trade, but if they turn around and say no, I don't know what else you're going to do. It's not going to affect them much to have him hold out. You've seen Dearness Johnson looked halfway decent
I was trying to figure out the guy's name
right behind. So, okay, Kareem, you don't want to play. Here you go, Dearness. Yeah, you're the backup. So, I think he just obviously voiced it, wanted to get out and be a starting running back somewhere, and he'll have to wait till his contract's up after this year.
Just embarrassing. Way to go.
Yes. Speaking of embarrassing, this division will not be this year. Let's jump into the AFC West fantasy preview. So, like we have done for all the other divisions, we are on Division 7 of 8. We'll wrap up with the NFC West towards the end of the week, but we'll just kind of go through team by team, talk the fantasy guys that we like. I'll give some guys I don't like, and then give you some top 3 targets that I'm looking for based on their current ADP as well, beginning of August. But let's kick it off with the defending division champions here and talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is one I think we can dive into in quite detail here. Probably the toughest one for me to go through. Travis Kelce is going to be an absolute monster this year. We know he's getting up there in age. I believe he's 33 right now. And I don't see him falling off this year just based on how much play he's going to get, how many targets he's going to be getting with Tyreek Hill gone. So I like him a lot. Outside of that, though, kind of on the fence with Patrick Mahomes, had a little bit of a down year last year as far as fantasy goes and losing a huge deep threat in Tyreek Hill. Obviously, I have MBS, Juju Smith Schuster, drafted Sky Moore. Do you like any of those wide receivers for fantasy purposes? And then let's dive into that running back room, too. You had mentioned in our question of the day with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is this finally the year that his first round draft pedigree is finally going to come into play here? I'm out on him right now, and I'm out on those wide receivers. Can you change my mind, Joe, or is this kind of where you're sitting too for fantasy?
I mean, I'm gonna say Juju's probably the number one guy with on the wide receiver front for them, just because we've seen him in terms like recording receptions, but not a big play guy. So I'm not really in love with him at all. I mean, we're Juju Smith Schuster or like an Amon-Ra St. Brown or a Hunter Renfro. I'm taking those two other guys above Juju, even though Juju has a superior quarterback to both those guys. But it's just gonna be I think a wait and see type of an offense. And as much, as much confidence as I have in Mahomes, and I did say earlier, I think that I still pick the Chiefs to win the division because I do think Mahomes, Reed, they're going to figure it out. I mean, Andy Reid made Freddie Mitchell a relevant receiver. So back when he was with Philly. So that shows what Andy Reid can do. But I guess I can't say I'm in love with I certainly not in love with any of these guys. Sky Moore, I think he's the most just pure talent receiver out of here. But rookie wide receivers, it's rookie any position outside of basically pass rusher can be kind of a wild card. Generally, your top pass rushers, like a Chase Young, for example, dominant rookie year. But you don't really always know about offensive linemen. I mean, Jake Long, his taking us back again, but like Jake Long for the Dolphins, number 1 overall pick, he didn't have a great rookie year. We've seen other receivers that have taken a little bit to pop. I mean, yes, in the past couple of years, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Yeah, they pop year one and immediately become amongst the top 5 to easily top 10 receivers in the league after year one. But we've also seen guys that haven't popped year one. Devontae Smith, for example, his first year, questionable. So maybe year 2 he pops. That's obviously what any Philly fan wants to hope for, and any owner of him wants to hope for. But so who knows with Sky Moore? Yeah, he's going to have an awesome quarterback in Mahomes, but could still take some time to get that done. And MVS, I mean, I think it's going to be the exact same thing as him with Green Bay. His quarterback level is still elite, but in Green Bay, he wasn't starter worthy ever.
No.
And he was the number.
Maybe when Lazard was outside of an injury or something, but yeah, not on a weekly basis.
So you don't want to, if you're stuck starting MVS, it's because you're stuck starting MVS, not because you want to. So maybe a guy, I honestly, I'd love to have maybe not all 3 of these guys on my team, but any of these 3 guys riding pine for me, but I'm not looking to start any of them.
No, not at all. And I think it'll be one that Mahomes will probably put together a good season, but I think it'll just be a different wide receiver that steps up each week. You're going to have the solid production every game from Travis Kelce, but I think one week you'll see Juju is the top receiver on the team. Next week, MBS might have a huge long touchdown that puts him atop there. And maybe as the season progresses, you'll see Sky Moore take that next step. Maybe he'll have a late surgent like in Amon-Ra St. Brown did last year towards the end, where he could be
that's a good call.
He could be a relevant and playoff push for you. But outside of that, you're not going to see any consistency week to week, I don't think, at this point in time. And I think if I had to take a shot on one of those guys, I think I'm with you in that it'd probably be Juju. And just because we've seen him do it in Pittsburgh before, granted, he was opposite lined up Antonio Brown, but again, you have Travis Kelce, who's going to be a main focus point of
He's
the
going to be the
defense
number
and
one.
stopping him. So maybe that does give Juju some separation there and helps him out and makes him relevant. But I'm avoiding, I think, these guys in my draft outside of maybe taking a shot on one of them later on in hopes that you put them on a bench and maybe you see consistency from them. But I don't see it at this point in time.
Yeah, that's about all I've got on the Chiefs outside of, CEH late running back. I don't even want him as an RB2 necessarily. I flex or a depth position. He hasn't shown it. He hasn't shown that he can pop. Maybe now that they lost Tyreek Hill, there will be more of a focus on the run game, but he hasn't shown that he can pop. Kansas City did add Ronald Jones as well.
Yeah.
So that could be some carries away from CEH as well, especially once you get closer to the goal line.
Yep. Jerick McKinnon looked halfway decent in the playoffs last year somehow. He seems like he's been around forever, but he's still there in the backfield too. So it's going to be a very short leash for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So if you're looking to draft him, just be mindful that you might see him starting for a week or two and then slowly dip down in those carries.
It's going to be some sort of a timeshare, I'd imagine.
Yep.
So yeah, not super high on him either.
Yep. All right, let's move over to the next team, playoff Las Vegas Raiders from last year. Yes. Quite a few guys I am fine with here. Derek Carr, I think, is somebody that you can get later on in your draft, and I think he'll be just fine for you this year with his college teammate, Devontae Adams. I'm still drafting him, not scared away by the change of teams. I think Derek Carr will be just fine and get Devontae Adams just as productive. Running back, little scary with Josh Jacobs. We saw him get quite a bit of action along with Zamir White in the Hall of Fame game last Thursday, which got a lot of speculation out there. Were the Raiders trying to get him visible for maybe to trade him? But Josh McDaniels came out and said, no, they're just want to get the running backs as much work as possible. And that's all it was. So I'll take him at his word right now. And Josh Jacobs was solid last year. And I think Zamir White will eat into a little bit of it in the passing game. But outside of that, I'm fine with Josh Jacobs as a RB2/3. Definitely don't want him as your RB1, not comfortable there. And then fine with Darren Waller too. I think you're going to see a dip from his at least targets that he's getting a game with Devontae Adams there, that surefire wide receiver one that Las Vegas really hasn't had in the past, but still solid tight end with Darren Waller.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read too much. It's always scary, I guess, when you've got for Josh Jacobs, they didn't sign him to his
turned down
fifth-year
option.
Fifth-year
option. Yep.
And so therefore, they're basically saying like, you're not the future of our backfield. But at the same time, so yes, he did get plenty of playing time, but the Raiders also played their entire starting offensive line outside of their stud left tackle, Colton Miller. So obviously they didn't play Derek Carr. They didn't play Waller. They didn't play Renfro. They didn't play Devontae, and they shouldn't, but they played every other position outside of that left tackle, at least to start the game. So that makes me read a little bit less into that Josh Jacobs situation. However, I don't know. I'm pretty high right now on Zamir White. He looked pretty good. Rookie. Yeah, he struggled with injuries at Georgia, but he was a Georgia running back, AKA high level recruit. And he was the starter for Georgia who won a title. So I guess, one of the guys that I'm higher on is Zamir White here. He may, especially dynasty wise, I don't know the kind of impact that he's going to have in redraft, but I would definitely be pretty pumped to grab Zamir White for any sort of dynasty league, because I think he ends up taking over this backfield potentially if Jacobs goes down with an injury, or even by the second half of the season, if things aren't working out great for Jacobs. I think Zamir White's going to be the guy to jump in. There's two other receiving backs that are in this backfield of Brandon Bolden and Kenyon Drake. That sucks. Just not because I would own either of them, but because that may limit a little bit of third down work, passing down work for Jacobs or Zamir White. I'm not, but just because there is that receiving potential for those two guys. But yeah, Jacobs, I'm cool with him being a low level RB2 high end flex. He's definitely like a tier above CEH in my mind, no question. But I don't know. Keep an eye on Zamir White. I really think so.
Yeah, no, I like that take a lot. The only other one I guess to bring up, I didn't have him in my dislikes. I didn't really have him fall into the guys I like either, but Hunter Renfrow had an absolute bomb year last year. Where do you see him? I mean, PPR, yes, for sure. He's definitely somebody that should be on a team, but if you're not in full PPR, if you're in half or maybe no PPR with Devontae Adams coming in, where do you lie on Hunter Renfrow?
Yeah, I'm sky high with him. I love Renfrow. He's their wide receiver too, which is more of what fits his, but more of what fits his kind of like traditional skill set and talent versus having to step into that wide receiver one role like he did after the Ruggs incident. But Renfrow was a red zone beast and reception beast. I'm pretty high on Renfrow. I think you may not have these, you're not going to have these massive breakout games from Renfrow, but every week, assuming health, you're getting points from him. So that's a guy that I would love to have on my, have available on my team. Probably flex play, ideally, but during bye weeks with the potential to have to jump into that wide receiver 2 slot.
All right. No, I can dig that. Anything else on the Raiders before we jump over to Los Angeles, Joe?
I mean, we all know Devontae is going to be a stud. He's got that rapport with Derek Carr, so don't be afraid of him moving from Rodgers to Carr. I think they're going to click day one. I mean, they and in the past too, in the off seasons, they've worked out together. So they've got that rapport. There's a reason that Devontae wanted to go to Vegas. It was to play with his former college QB. So they've got that rapport. I don't see any potential drop off from Adams, even though he's taken a little bit of a downgrade in quarterback. I think they're gonna hit the ground running, and maybe you're not gonna see these 15 touchdown seasons. Maybe it's closer to 12, 13, but still great numbers. So I'm not just he's not going to finish as the wide receiver 1, 2, but I could see top 5 still with Devontae.
Yeah, nope, for sure. All right, moving over to the Chargers. Lots of fantasy potential here. Justin Herbert, absolutely love. He's got potential to be that quarterback 1 on the season. Austin Eckler, also perennial top 5 guy as long as he is on the field. So both those guys are locked in. Keenan Allen always puts up quiet, solid year for you as well. I do expect to see Mike Williams trending more to that wide receiver 1 role on the team, but Keenan Allen's still a solid option. Mike Williams going fairly low in drafts. I'll be talking about him in a little bit, spoiler alert, but love him as well. And the only one I'm not super high on is Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett just kind of seems to be bouncing back and forth around different teams.
One team in LA, then up to Seattle. Now the other team in LA.
Yes. And Donald Parham Jr.'s had a phenomenal camp. He looked really good last year until that really scary head injury, suffered a concussion.
That was out like genuinely frightening.
Yes. So he's had a solid camp so far. A lot of hype coming out from him. Got my cat going on in the background for those on YouTube. You can check out Fiona rocking the cat tree in the back. But
Princess Fiona.
Yes. But No, I like
saw
pretty much all
just
of the Chargers.
I saw an ad at the Rave in Milwaukee. There, it's gonna be Shrek. It's gonna, like, I think it's just called Shrek Rave. $15. The ad said, "It's dumb, just come and have fun." That's the best ad ever.
That's yeah.
Hell yeah, I would love to go to a Shrek Rave. Sounds amazing. Donkey. But
yeah,
continue
no, I was just gonna say, outside of Gerald Everett, I'm all about the Chargers. Deeper leagues, Joshua Palmer's also had a really solid camp, was pretty solid last year at times, learning as a rookie wide receiver out of Tennessee. But where do you see the Chargers? I see a lot of potential here for your teams.
I mean, I think that the talent on paper is phenomenal. I look at Josh Palmer, Jalen Guyton as their third and fourth receivers. We've been kind of seeing which one over the last 2 years, really. They've been kind of going neck and neck into who's going to take that third receiver spot pretty much every season. And I think Josh Palmer has shown that he can jump into that wide receiver 3 spot. I would definitely, be thinking late in the draft, if you have an opportunity for Josh Palmer, maybe a guy that you can grab just in case Mike Williams does go down. That's the only reason that I'm not as high on Mike Williams as you, I think, because he has had health issues every single year of his career. Undoubtedly extremely talented, but I think Josh Palmer jumping and pretty much solidifying himself as the Chargers wide receiver 3. Absolutely keep an eye on him. Maybe take a late round flyer on him, but if he goes undrafted, definitely put him on your watch list. Somebody to keep tabs on all season. I really like what they've done on the offensive line. Rashawn Slater, arguably the best left tackle in the league, just after his one stellar rookie season. Corey Linsley, again, really high-end center. Then drafting Zion Johnson to take that right guard spot in the first round. I really like that offensive line, and I think that only helps Eckler out. And yes, Eckler's already been, he's already regarded as especially if you're in a PPR league, a really, really high-end back. But I wonder, I guess, Isaiah Spiller, is this guy, he's coming in right now as their second running back. Josh Kelly, Larry Roundtree, extremely unspectacular. So I love the draft pick of Isaiah Spiller. Do you see him fitting into this offense at all? Do you see, I'm not saying that's a reason to downgrade Eckler whatsoever. I'm saying, is there a reason to maybe see if you could take a late round flyer on Spiller, and maybe he kind of fills in as like a Chuba Hubbard type?
Eckler is going to be their workhorse as long as he's healthy, but health has been an issue for him in the past. Outside of last year, he was relatively healthy. I believe he played the full season, maybe missed a game here and there, but Isaiah Spiller definitely, I think, is a handcuff for Eckler, because if Eckler goes down, Spiller's going to be the next person up, and I think he'll be the one that'll see the bulk of the work there. So I like him as a handcuff. As far as a flyer, I think you're just holding on to him and hoping for an injury. I don't know that he's going to have much standalone play from that, and I don't see him eating into much of Austin Eckler's workload either. But again,
no, but I guess I meant, when I compared him to Chuba.
As far as
we saw Chuba
when
once CMC went down, Chuba was totally starter worthy, especially right away. So I could see Spiller kind of filling in, basically being down, Chuba 2.0, rookie season, third, fourth round pick, and filling in for a 3-down star. So I definitely I'll have him in my top 3 of guys to target. Isaiah Spiller, solely for a handcuff.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Anybody else on Los Angeles before we jump over to the new and improved Denver offense?
Let's go into the donks. Get over the donkeys.
Also star-studded here. There, honestly, for me, isn't one person on their offense that I don't like this year. I like Russell Wilson a lot. Got arguably his best and most talented group of wide receivers to throw the ball to. Javonte Williams and even Melvin Gordon with his draft capital right now is you can get him late and still have some potential. I think he's going to get some goal line work. So I like Melvin Gordon as well. Obviously, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy should be phenomenal with Russell Wilson. Huge upgrade in the quarterback position with Wilson coming over from Seattle. KJ Hamler, I mean, Tim Patrick would have been in this conversation had he not gotten hurt. KJ Hamler is very talented too and was fighting with Tim Patrick for carries and or for playing time up until his injury last year. But KJ should be a fine spot there in the wide receiver 3 role. And then Albert O at tight end. Russell Wilson's liked his tight ends as well. But I'll let you go with that. I'm just going Albert O.
Albert O.
But I mean, do you see this offense as well with pretty much any of these guys? You'd be happy walking away from your fantasy drafts as I am, because I can't really see anything bad with this grouping.
I've got a little bit of hesitancy with Melvin Gordon just because I really do think that it's going to be a Javonte Williams show this year. They drafted him high for a reason. He showed he's the more explosive back. And Melvin last year, yeah, I mean, he was still making good money. I wonder if the Broncos felt the need to kind of feed him the ball a little bit because he was still making good cash. This year he's on a 1 year, I don't know if it's not really a prove it deal because it's just you've been in the league for more than 5 years. So you're not going to get paid that much, like that kind of a deal. So I feel like it's going to be the Javonte Williams show. So I'm I'm not high on Melvin really at all. And they're going to have to ride their best backs, their best players week in, week out to be able to compete for a division title with how tough this division is. You can't take a week off. You can't take a quarter or a half off, especially in division play, if you want to try to win the AFC West. So I think it's going to be the Javonte Williams show, which makes me not high on Melvin at all.
You don't like the Wisconsin combo of Russell Wilson, Melvin Gordon there, Joe?
I mean, that was a decade ago? Like, sorry, Melvin, I love you, man, but geez, like that's a ways back. So no, I don't. I'll take the younger and proven Javonte Williams well ahead of Melvin. I'm big on Javonte this year. I'm loving him. As far as the wide receiver room goes, between Jeudy and Sutton, oh God, I want to say Jeudy over Sutton right now. I want to do it because although God, I'm so split between those two guys because I think Judy's going to get more targets than he ever has. He did lead in the games that he did play last year. I believe he was second to Cooper Kupp in terms of yards of separation from his defender. So that means he's getting open on his own. And he now doesn't have Drew Lock, Teddy Two Gloves throwing in the ball. Now he's got Russell the Muscle. So I think that he could have a very good chance at a breakout year. I also, though, at the same time, think Sutton, the way that Russ throws that deep ball, where it's, and for you YouTube viewers, where it's just like a perfect trajectory every time. And it basically just falls right into the receiver's lap on these deep balls with the high arc. And it just drops right in like a grenade. Like napalm probably is better comp. But I think that that's where Sutton can also break out and he will be the recipient of some of these long balls. We've seen the DK Metcalf or we've seen the Tyler Lockett games where he will absolutely go off and have 2-3 touchdown games with 200 yards or close to 200 yards. I think Sutton is more likely to have those types of major breakout games than Jeudy, but I think Jeudy is maybe going to be more steady production and also still have some opportunities at deep balls. So I really like both those receivers. As far as KJ Hamler goes, he's a wide receiver 3. I probably put him on the same level of production as that I would expect from Tim Patrick just jumping in, because he is, I think, on the same talent level as Patrick.
So flex worthy, would you say, for some weeks? That's where Tim Patrick was. Tim Patrick last year was flex worthy. It was pretty solid at times.
Flex worthy on my bye weeks. I'll go there. When I've got receivers on bye, I'll go there.
Okay. All right, so I will jump into my top 3 targets. Kicking it off is somebody, like I said, he's one of the only Chiefs I like this year, and that's Travis Kelce. Getting him in the beginning of the second round, but he's going to be getting absolutely peppered with targets this year and should be an absolute monster and a game changer for you at the tight end position, give you a positional advantage week in and week out. So Travis Kelce's locked and loaded there. I've got Mike Williams as my next one. I foreshadowed that a little bit earlier on. Right now, he's going in the 506 spot, which is insane for considering he finished as the wide receiver 9 last year in half-point PPR. So, again, you're taking an injury risk, but I'm fine with that in the 5th round. I mean, you have
fifth round is fine
monster potential there. So, yeah, absolutely. He's somebody that you can get great draft value there. And then I'm going to go with Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton right now on the 6'11 spot. So the back end of the 6th round, almost a 7th round receiver that you could easily see crack the top 20 this year with Russell Wilson. So I think those are definitely some sleeper guys that might fall a little bit in your draft that you'd be happy walking away with in the mid rounds.
Yeah, I'm going to kick it off with a guy that I had mentioned that I'm high on is Zamir White. I mean, Vegas knows that I'm going to be doing that for the next, until forever for the length of Dead Arm Sports. I'm going to be doing that. Damn it. Although I have stopped saying San Diego Chargers, which that's nice. That's Zamir White, obviously how it looks right now, he seems to be the future of that backfield. Josh Jacobs, yes, those trade rumors are squashed. I'd be surprised if he did end up getting traded. I don't think that Zamir White at this point deserves to be a sole RB1, but it's already been made clear that they don't view Josh Jacobs as the future of that running back room. So, and Zamir White again looked really good. It's preseason, but he looked good. So I'm not saying again, this guy, don't draft him high, just keep an eye on him and maybe take a late round flyer. Same thing with another guy that I had previously mentioned, Isaiah Spiller. Great handcuff opportunity. I think a must draft if you're an Austin Eckler owner. If you do end up taking Eckler in that first round, Isaiah Spiller, absolutely draft him. He's going to get some playing time this year. Eckler historically goes down and misses, a sporadic amount of time. So in those weeks when Eckler's not there, I think Isaiah is going to be the feature back, and absolutely draft him especially if you are an Eckler owner. And then I just blew my wad on Jerry Jeudy, but so I guess I don't need to go too deep into it. But right now he's going kind of in that Hollywood Brown, Amari Cooper, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman type of area. And I'm putting him above all those guys easily. So so Jeudy, you could get some good value on, I think.
Yeah, no, I don't have any issues with those guys. Definitely some late round guys there that not a lot of your draft mates might not know if they didn't follow college football that deep. Those aren't names that are popping out of news reports or anything like that if you're just kind of combing through, but definitely guys that could make huge impacts for their teams. All right, that will do it for this episode. We've got one more division to go, NFC West, coming out on Thursday. We'll have some MLB trade deadline. I'll break that down for you, have a little convo there, and then dive into the first FedEx Cup playoff event. But again, we can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Again, we're live on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, click the bell there, and we'll let you know when we're going live so that way you can ask us any questions that you want. If you want to follow Gel, he can be found at Dawson Gel. I can be found at Dawson JPEG. Send us any questions you have there. Again, it's draft season. Have any questions, let us know. We're more than happy to help guide you through your draft. And Gel, where else can they listen to us at?
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Pods. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. 5 stars. Share this episode. Share this podcast with your friends, your enemies, your pets, your plants, your coworkers, your parents,
that pet right there.
Your what?
Said that pet right there.
That pet. I thought you said meth head. I was like, Jesus.
No.
How many meth heads do you think our viewership knows and is actively conversing with? Hopefully very few, if not zero. Although we did get that fun that little story from Aaron Rodgers and his psychedelic trip and how it changed his outlook on life. So maybe we do know people that experiment with meth. Not something I'm going to try in my near future, hopefully ever. But subscribe, rate, review, share with all your friends, enemies.
Yes. All right. Again, appreciate everybody out there listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, we'll be back with the NFC West on Thursday, and Joe, close us out.
AFC West, more like AFC Best.